Hey there, my name is Hubhum, and for my second FF7 mini podcast that I've entitled PC Re-Release Chocobo Racing and You, I've decided to put together some of the information that we did in our last podcast that it was about Chocobo Racing prize differences and combine it with some of the information that I've done, that I've acquired via testing in the last couple of weeks and putting it all together into sort of one coherent video thingy that I hope is coherent. I hope. Here goes nothing, right, guys? Basically, I'd like to talk about five things. First off, we'll do a very quick recap of what I talked about in the last podcast about Chocobo Racing prize differences in C and B class, some of the early testing that I did, some of the differences that I found, and why I needed to do more testing. After we do a little bit of a recap, we're going to go into what I've found lately as far as the new testing results in A and S class of the Chocobo Square, and how that impacts the player. After that, we're going to put all of the information together and look at some of the patterns that I found emerging from all of the data when it's all sort of laid out there, and we can compare one whole set of Chocobo Racing prizes with the other set, and how the items correspond with each other, and some of the really fascinating stuff that I discovered about how the slots are organized for each version as far as prizes go. After that, we'll do a little bit of speculation on what the heck happened. Like, why are the versions so different as far as the prizes? Just some wild guesses and perhaps educated sort of hypotheses and stuff like that. I'm not a coder. I don't know exactly what happened, but we're gonna just try and throw some ideas out there about that. And at the end, we're gonna talk about what this whole thing means to the average player playing FF7. Is it a big deal? Is it not a big deal? What's going to be different for a player playing on one particular version over another as far as the Chocobo racing is concerned. So yeah, let's get into it. First off, let's talk about the recap. Uh, the last video I did was a few weeks ago. It was pretty long, so just to sort of condense all of the stuff I talked about last time, I did a bunch of Chocobo race testing. And on both versions, both the PlayStation version and the PC 2012 re-release version of Final Fantasy VII. The reason I did this is because I was doing a Disc 1 challenge, which I'm still working on, and I was doing a lot of Chocobo racing in C and B class, and I found some really strange things going on, so I decided to do a bunch of testing, and as a result of all that testing, I discovered some really strange anomalies. And I documented them and talked about them for a while. So basically, there's a lot of items in both of C and B class that don't really correspond with each other as far as the PlayStation version versus the PC version. Some items exist in one version but not in another in a particular class. For example, Potion doesn't exist in C class in the PC 2012 version, but it is in B class. But that's not in B class in the PlayStation version. Or like Megalixir somehow appears in C class in the PlayStation or on the PC version, but Megalixir should be only an S-class item in the PlayStation version. So there's some really weird things going on. On top of that, some items that do exist in the same class in both versions are common in one version but really rare in another. A good example of this is Hero Drink or Antarctic Wind. They're both common items in B class in the PlayStation version, but they're both rare items in B class in the PC version. So this is just some really strange oddities that I found. Another sort of major thing that I discovered that's kind of new is that there is an item in B class in both versions. It's not the same item, but there's one item that only appears in Disc 2 and 3. It will not appear in Disc 1. This item in the PlayStation version in B class is the enemy away materia, and this item in B class in the PC version is the hero drink. These items cannot be acquired in Disc 1. They can't, well, at least no, they just can't be acquired in Disc 1 in general. They can only be acquired from Disc 2 onwards, which is very strange because it wasn't documented like this before. So it's sort of a neat little discovery that I found that the very rarest item in B class, the sort of item at the very bottom of the rarity list, can't actually be acquired in Disc 1. It can only be acquired in Disc 2 onwards, which is really neat. But as I was doing all this testing and discovering stuff, which was really cool and surprising, I realized that I needed to do more testing. I needed to, suck it up and do more Chocobo racing, Chocobo racing, and test A and S class because those are the sort of meat and potatoes. Those are like what most people will do in the Chocobo Square as far as racing goes because there's all the best items, all items that you need to get, etc., etc. So I needed to do more of the testing to verify the results that I had gotten as well as sort of compile a full set of info. And that is what I've gone and done now. So let's go talk about that for a little bit. Let's just switch overlays here really quickly though. Let's get over into here. This is going to be live footage from the PC 2012 re-release version of Final Fantasy VII. Now, this is an S-class race. If you might remember in last podcast, I showed you a C-class race. This is S-class. This is just a random race that I managed to get. Now, you're going to see some weird shit here. Um, if you're a veteran of the game and you've done a lot of races in the PlayStation version or something. Why in the Blue Blazes is Sneak Attack and Cat's Bell not rare? Um, as you can see here, there are definitely some anomalies as far as the PC version as well. Um, not just C and B class, but also AAS class. And I've gone and documented these as well. Um, but yeah, as you can see here, Sneak Attack materials should not be a common item. Cat's Bell should not be an uncommon item. Elixir is actually in the right spot, but as I'll sort of get into later, it's not really in the right spot, even though it correctly appears as a rare item. But as you can see here, the prizes are also out of whack here in S class, and they're not. C and B class weren't the only exceptions. So let's get into my notepad files. I just want to quickly gloss over the fact that C-class data is here. This is my new FAQ, mini FAQ that I'm working on as far as Chocobo racing is going. So this is sort of the data that I was talking about last time as far as C-class here and then B-class here. I've gone and mapped these out. This is sort of like, as you can see, some items appear in one and not the other. So this is just sort of an explanation of what I was doing before. But let's get into the new stuff. Here's A-class. And there are some very fascinating things that go on here. For example, Potion appears in PC 2012 in A class. Of course, it doesn't appear in PlayStation because it doesn't even appear in B class. It's weird. High Potion exists in PlayStation but not in PC. Phoenix Down is correctly appearing in both. Hyper and Tranquilizer stop appearing after B class in the PlayStation version, as you can see, but they do appear in the PC version in A-class, which is odd. Hero drinks are in both, but again, it's that issue of common versus rare. It's rare only in PC 2012, but it's common in the PlayStation version. Firefang is in both. Ether is a very strange one that I found as well. It's rare only in PC 2012, but common in PlayStation. Antarctic Wind, again, rare only in PC 2012, but common in PlayStation. Bolt Plume, same deal. Ice Crystals in both, which is interesting enough. Now, here's weird. Fire Veil, Swift Bolt, and Elixir all appear in the PlayStation version, but do not appear in PC 2012 and A-class. And again, we have Mega Elixir making an appearance in PC 2012, but not in PlayStation version. And then we have all of the rare items. Now, the rare items, like the super rare items that only appear in A-class and S-class, that's what I meant. Now, they all appear in both versions. However, as you can see here, Sneak Attack, Enemy Away, and Cat's Bell all appear as common items in the PC 2012 version, as in they can appear in all three slots, whereas they correctly appear as only rares in the PlayStation version. Now, every item that's of 300 GP value or higher in the PlayStation version is rare only, but that is definitely not the case in the PC 2012 re-release. So this is kind of weird. Let's go to S-Class, where it continues to be weird. As you can see, we've got Potion in S-Class in PC 2012, which is totally bizarre. We should never have a 5 GP item in PC 2012 or in S-Class. Phoenix Down's the same. Hero Drink is the same anomaly, common versus rare. Now here we have Bolt Plume in PlayStation version as common and Bolt Plume as rare only in PC 2012, which is rather strange. Now we have Ether in S-Class, but it doesn't actually appear in S-Class in PlayStation. Antarctic Wind, we have rare only Antarctic Wind, and it doesn't even appear in the PlayStation version in S-Class. Ice Crystal stops appearing in PC 2012 in S-Class, but we've got Ice Crystal and Fire Veil in the PlayStation version. Now we have Swift Bolt in S-Class in both versions, and they're both common. So these items seem to be somehow matching again when they weren't matching, as you can see back here, they weren't matching in A-Class, but now all of a sudden they're matching in S-Class, which is kind of strange. Turbo Ether is in S-Class in PlayStation, but not in PC. And then we get to the sort of 300 GP and up items, which are all rare. We've got Elixirs that are both rare only. Mega Elixir is still common but in PC 2012, but rare in PlayStation version. And then we've got some of the S-Class only items like Precious Watch, Choco Bracelet, and Magic Counter. Now, they're, as far as I know, I believe these are actually completely correct. They're rare only and S-Class only, so if there's any items that are working properly, it seems to be those. But then again, we've got Sneak Attack, Enemy Away, and Cat's Bell all common in PC 2012 version and rare only in PlayStation version. So what does this all mean? Like, I've just sort of spouted off about a bunch of random stuff for about the last 4 minutes about common versus rare, this in one version, this in not another version. How does this all work? How does this all fit together? Well, I did some analysis, and I mean a lot of analysis. I mean, I literally went and took every single item that drops in the Chocobo Square and analyzed when they appear and how rare they appear in each version. And I came up with some really fascinating results. So we're going to get into the deduction charts here for a moment. Um, Basically, what I found is that there's a strong correlation between at least one item in one version and one item in another version, um, where they appear at the same times, the same rarities or commonalities, and they seem to correspond with each other very nicely for the most part. There's a couple of hiccups, but basically what I found is that every item, or at least every item, seems to correspond with an item from one version to another. So let's go over those charts because I found them very interesting, and then we'll go over sort of the whole thing about how it sort of links together. But okay, items that appear only in C class. In PlayStation version, it's potion. In PC version, there's no item. I mean, there's one less item in the PC version in C class in general. Like if we go back up to this, if we go back to C class, there's like 8 items in the PC version, and there's 9 items in the PlayStation version. And so the potion doesn't really correspond with anything. There's no item that only appears in C class. So I did a sort of count of all the items that appear in both versions, and the only item that doesn't appear in the PC 2012 version that does appear in the PlayStation version, every other item is accounted for, is Fire Veil. So I was thinking maybe these two go together. Maybe these two go together, but there is no item there. Like Fire Veil doesn't exist in the Chocobo Square. So I'm thinking that's some weird bug or blank slot, and we'll get back to that later because that's really interesting. But items that appear in only C and B class, in PSX it's Hyper and Tranquilizer. In PC version, the items that sort of correspond, the items that only appear in C and B class are High Potion and Turbo Ether. So my hypothesis was that one of these has to go with one of these. Like these have to like go together. So these might correspond. And then let's continue because it gets more interesting here. Appears in C, B, and A class. So items that only appear in those 3 classes. So we've got High Potion and Target Wind Firefang and Ether in the PlayStation version, and then we've got Hyper Tranquilizer Firefang and Ice Crystal in the PC version. So I was thinking maybe these things go together, but we actually have an item that matches up here. So maybe Firefang goes with Firefang, and the other two go with one of these other items. So maybe they go together. Maybe they fit the same prize slots. All right, now we have items that appear in all 4 classes as commons, and then we've got Phoenix Down and Bolt Plume in the PSX version, and Phoenix Down and Megalixir in the PC version. So I was thinking, okay, probably Phoenix Downs go together, maybe. So that means maybe Bolt Plume goes with Megalixir, and then maybe that makes sense because every time Bolt Plume appears in one prize slot, Megalixir appears in the other prize slot in the other corresponding version. So maybe they're sharing the same prize slot, if you can sort of follow what I'm going on here. All right, so appears in only B and S class. There's only one item that only appears in B and S class, and it's Turbo Ether in PlayStation and Swift Bolt in the PC version. So I was thinking maybe these shared slots. Continuing along, items that appear in B, A, and S class. Now here's another thing. Okay, Hero Drink is the common item that appears in B, A, and S class in the PlayStation version, and that seems to correspond with Potion, which appears in B, A, and S class in the PC version. Now, here's the weird thing. Remember how I was talking about in the last podcast, how I could not find an ice crystal to save my life in B class in the PlayStation version? I was really looking for help to see if anybody had found one. I was thinking maybe because I just want to pull up Absolute Steve's charts here. Oh gosh, I forgot to actually find the right place. My bad. Whoops. Oh, I think I found it. I think I saw it. I think I saw it. Okay, as you can see here, Ice Crystal is listed in Absolute Steve Guide. This is Absolute Steve's FAQ. Fantastic FAQ. And it's listed in B class as a possible prize in the PlayStation version. But I couldn't find one, and I was just going nuts trying to find one. And then I did the deduction charts, and I realized that, hey, wait a minute. If Ice Crystal doesn't appear in B class, then there's no item to correspond with it. So maybe that was an error. Maybe Absolute Steve had a typo or something, or maybe somebody gave him wrong information, and because if we look down here, items that appear in A and S class only, there is actually a matching item for Ice Crystal in Enemy Away, or at least one of the 3 items here. Because there's 3 items that appear in A and S only if Ice Crystal doesn't appear in B, and 3 items that appear in A and S in the PC version. So the math adds up if Ice Crystal doesn't exist in B class in the PlayStation version. If it does, we have a problem. But if it doesn't, and if my testing results were correct, then then we actually have a strong correlation here again. So appearing in A and S class, and this might be a reason why these items are all common, is because they're sharing prize slots. Fire Veil, Swift Bolt, and Ice Crystal are common items in A and S class, and then common items in A and S class in the PC version, Cat Spell, Sneak Attack, Enemy Away, which shouldn't happen. It's total bug. It shouldn't happen, but that's probably which items correspond as far as the prize slots they take up. So that's a weird thing with Ice Crystal. Continuing along here, appears as rare in B, A, and S class. A rare only item. It's Elixir for PSX and Antarctic Wind. So this is my hypothesis about why Antarctic Wind is so bloody hard to get in the PC version. As people who have been watching my stream might know, I've been trying to get 99 Antarctic Winds, and it's just been horrible. Horrible trying to get all those items in Disc 1 because it's only appearing as a rare item. And I'm thinking that's because it's replacing the slot that Elixir takes up, rather than having its regular Antarctic Wind slot, which is supposed to be a CB and A class common. So I was thinking, since these items go together, that's probably the slot it takes up. Continuing along here, again, now we have that whole Disc 2, 3 only item. So because these items are rare in Disc 2 and 3 only, and they can't be found in Disc 1, they match together nicely. Enemy Away, Hero Drink. This is why these items correspond. Continuing along, appearing as rare in A and S class only, we've got Counterattack, Sneak Attack, Cat Spell, and Sprint Shoes. So this is where Counterattack, Sneak Attack, and Cat Spell should be. But in the PC version, it's Bolt, Plume, and Ether instead. Counterattack and Sprint Shoes are probably linked because they both appear in the same slot. So they might be in the correct spots, but Bolt, Plume, and Ether for sure are not. And then rare in S class only. Here's where we got our Mega Elixir problem. Mega Elixir is the S-Class only item in the PlayStation version, and it's replaced by Elixir in the PC version, so that's where our Elixirs went. And then Precious Watch, Choco Bracelet, and Magic Counter seem to be pretty well in the right spots. So I did all of these charts. Now what does this all mean? Basically what I've done then is, based on all of these sort of trying to find out which items go together, I managed to create at least a rough idea of how these price slots all go together. So let's go to the very top of this mini FAQ that I've been writing. And here is the sort of price slot matchups that I've managed to make. So if you look over on the left side here with potions and stuff, so as you can see, potion doesn't go with anything, but it might be Fire Veil. Phoenix Down going with Phoenix Down. So I basically created a list of the prizes on one side and the prizes on the other side, and which goes with which as far as the price slots are concerned. So if you're going to get a particular prize slot in the PlayStation version, which item corresponds with that on the PC re-release version. And so I managed to actually map all of these out. Now I'm going to post a link to this in the comment section below on the YouTube channel thingy-mabobber. I'm going to make sure that this particular FAQ is available. I made a pastebin link for it. Now it's just a draft, so there's still a lot of things that need to be edited, but I'm going to make sure these charts are available to anybody who wants to read them and stuff and go over them, because I as much as I've sort of made some real headway as far as which items go with which, knowing exactly which item goes with Tranquilizer, or exactly which item goes with the High Potion, I haven't been able to narrow down yet, just because it's like one of a couple of possibilities. So it, like, without like data mining or figuring out exactly the price slot locations, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the deduction for that. So I'm hoping that somebody else will be able to find that, or maybe I'll be able to get figured out with more testing. I'm not sure, but as you can see, I've sort of mapped this out. So this is C class. So these are the sort of items on the left, are the PlayStation version items that we're sort of more used to, and what items they're replaced by in the PC version. I say replaced. Now, all the items except for Fire Veil exist in the PC 2012 version. They're just in different slots. So Mega Elixir, the reason why it appears in C class is because it matches with Bolt Plume, and since Bolt Plume exists in all four classes, so does Mega Elixir. So that's sort of how I made my reasoning. So as you can see, here's the B class matchups. That's why, and here we see Ice Crystal not really matching up with anything, and so that's why I think it might be bugged. And then we've got A class going on here, and these are the matchups in A class. As you can see, I'm not entirely sure. One of three means it could be one of the three items. I'm not sure which goes with which. So I don't know whether Ice Crystal goes with Sneak Attack, or whether Ice Crystal goes with Enemy Away, or whether it goes with Cat Spell. But it's got to be one of the three. And this is sort of how it goes. And then we've got S class at the very end. And everything matches out pretty nicely for the most part in S class, except for the one of three items here. So I've managed to map this stuff out. what the heck caused this stuff? Like, how did this, how did the items get so different? Now we know sort of what goes where, like in a sort of in a general sense, but how did this come to happen? Why did the prizes suddenly change from one version to another? Um, I did some asking around. I did a little bit of asking around. I went to the qhim.com forums, and those are the guys responsible for creating a lot of the really wonderful FF7 PC mods, and they're sort of the PC gurus for the PC version of Final Fantasy VII. So I went over there, and I went and asked them. And as you can see here, basically what they were saying is that the prizes in the original PC version were actually quite buggy. So I'm thinking that whatever the problems are in the PC 2012 version stem from the original PC version, the PC release, the original PC release in, like, I think it was 1998. And so I think that the problems stem from there. But what does this, like? How did it happen? Did somebody just sort of whoopsie miss something and then everything got messed up? And I'm thinking maybe that's actually possible. Now, remember how I was saying that Potion and Fireveil sort of go together, but that Fireveil doesn't even exist? Now, I don't really know that much about coding, but suppose you like missed an entry and you sort of, like, if you miss, like, if you say you're sort of stacking up blocks and you sort of miss a block and then all of a sudden all the blocks shift one, kind of like DNA, and how sort of you get a variation because this sort of, you miss one tag or one cat or whatever the heck, TAGC, one sort of link, and then everything sort of shifts one and everything sort of gets out of whack. I'm thinking maybe that's what happened. Maybe because the one item in C class is missing that should be Fireveil, or should be an item. It should be Potion, but because everything's out of whack, because it sort of links with Fireveil, because that one item sort of got missed, maybe that just shifted everything and sort of put everything out of whack, and that's why there's all these weird prizes, and that's why we have common items as rares and rares as commons, and some items that appear in the wrong class and all these other things. And I think maybe that's might have been what happened. Either that or somebody just straight up messed up and just input everything backwards, or was drinking too much sake that night or something. I don't know. But yeah, that's just sort of my speculation. I'm just thinking that maybe just something shifted and caused all these prize slots to get input incorrectly, and that's why we have all these strange occurrences in the PC 2012 re-release. Um, but yeah, what does this all mean? Like, what does this mean for the average player who's going to be here, racing chocobos, probably not as long as I have been, but racing chocobos nonetheless. Like, they want to get all the materia, or they want to get all the accessories, or they want to win 10 times so Esther is happy and gives you all the prizes, or they want to show off their gold chocobo and do stuff. Or people like who are doing challenge runs, or people who are doing perfect game runs like myself, even though mine's kind of weird. What does this mean? What does this mean to somebody who's going to play on one version rather than another? Um, Basically, in a nutshell, for the average player playing through at Final Fantasy VII, it's probably easier to get some of the better items in the PC version. For example, as you can see here on the screen, Sneak Attack and Cat's Bell, and as well as the enemy away materia, they've become common items, so they've become a lot easier to get. Same thing with Mega Elixir. Now, you probably don't need to get Mega Elixirs from Chocobo Racing, because you could get them in other ways. But Sneak Attack, Cat's Bell, Enemy Away Materia, and a few others are Chocobo Square only. So in the case of Sneak Attack, Cat's Bell, and Enemy Away, they become a lot easier to get actually in the PC version. They're not hard to get at all. Now, they can be really frustrating for some players, because normally they would only appear as rare items, and anybody who's ever raced Chocobo Racing will tell you the rare items are a pain in the arse to get, because they only appear in 3 of 15 price slots. So for the fact that these are common and can appear with other items that would normally be as well rare, like for example Elixir here, like all 3 of these items would normally be rare. For the fact that them all being in the same race, that's really good. That'll actually make your Chocobo Racing a little bit faster if you're doing S-Class racing. So that's actually beneficial to the average player playing through the PC version. Where it can get detrimental is for people doing very specific challenges, such as say you're doing a no materia challenge on the PC version. For no materia challenge, say you want to beat up the weapons or something, or you want to beat Safer Sephiroth, and you want some more hero drinks. Now, normally you can't you can't breed chocobos if you're doing a no materia challenge because you don't have chocobo lure, which is okay. But you could still bet on the chocobo racing, and you could even get hero drinks via betting, like in the B race and the A races and stuff. But because it's a rare item now in the PC version, and unlike the common item it is in the PlayStation version, it's a lot harder to get. It's a lot harder to get, and betting in itself is very frustrating. Um, so, I mean, that makes that type of challenge slightly more tedious. Or in my case, because I'm trying to collect Antarctic wins like a madman, it's become really, really difficult. And I think if I was playing on the PlayStation version, it would be a little less difficult. But for the average player, I'd say that if they're even going to notice a difference as far as prizes, they'll probably notice that it's kind of easy to get some of the prizes that they want. So that'll actually sort of help out the player that's playing on the PC version, if only just for a few items. But I don't think it's going to make a huge difference either way to like the vast majority of people who play this game. The vast majority of people who play this game aren't even going to notice differences like this. But the fact that there are significant enough differences to warrant an entirely different prize list is kind of neat. So actually what I was doing, if we just click on this link here, this is the Final Fantasy wiki. It's a wonderful, wonderful resource for anybody who's playing any of the Final Fantasy games. It's a sort of community wiki project that's being put together. And this is the Gold Saucer page that I'm looking at here. And as you can see, the prizes listed here correspond pretty nicely with the PlayStation version, but they don't really correspond at all with the PC version. So I've actually gone to the talk page. If I just look here, if you look at the talk page, a couple of weeks ago, I sort of left my info about my old podcast video and said, "Hey, you know what? Check out this stuff." And people were like, "Oh, that's kind of cool," and I was kind of happy. This kind of stuff makes me happy when I read this kind of stuff. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably post a link here to my new video and be like, "Hey, can I edit the wiki?" And then hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'll go and edit these so that there's like a second column, like over here, like way over to the right, that shows the PC version prizes, because these ones don't work. These are for the PlayStation version. So, or maybe, heck, I really doubt this happens. But hey, maybe Square Enix goes and say, "Hey, our prizes are really messed up. Let's patch it." Yeah, okay, I'm dreaming. But this is really fascinating stuff. So hopefully, what will happen out of all of this in the end is that there will be new information on the wiki or just available online that people can go when they're sort of scratching their heads going, "Hey, wasn't I supposed to be able to get this item here?" And then now there's a reason for it. Now there's an explanation, and I'm kind of happy to have contributed that. I don't know if I'm the first person to do it. I bet you some of the really, really smart people in the Japanese or French communities of Final Fantasy VII have already figured this out, and so I'm sort of lagging behind. But I sort of stumbled across this information on my own, and I'm happy to share it with the internet and the world and everything else. So that's basically it for the podcast. What I'd really like going forward is that if anybody out there knows whether or not if anybody else knows whether or not it's possible to data mine the PC version for the prizes, I would really, really, really love that information if somebody was actually able to figure out like the actual like sort of prize slots themselves in the data. That would be so cool. I don't know if it's possible, but I don't know if it's possible. But if that's possible and you know how to do it, please contact me at hubum.media@gmail.com. That's a period, hubum.media@gmail.com. Or if you have video evidence of being able to find an ice crystal in B class on the PlayStation version of Final Fantasy VII, because that would be a huge deal. So if you have those things, please contact me. I would love to hear back from them, or just leave me a message on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/hubum. I do live streaming there once in a while, and I always check my messages. So if you have any information about that, please let me know. And other than that, that's pretty much all I had to say about this stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited actually. Like, this is really cool. I never expected to find new information about this game 15 years after its release. I mean, sure, it's a new version and all, and sure, it's a bug. Like, it's probably this is totally glitched out, man. This is totally bugged. But the fact that I actually managed to sort of put this together, it's you know, I have a lot of fun playing this game. But finding stuff like this, as funky as it kind of is, as sort of minor as it kind of is, it's really rewarding. I guess it just makes me happy. So I'm really happy to share this with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw here, I have a twitch.tv channel. I do live streams sometimes about this game. I'm in the middle of a really ridiculous perfect game challenge that I'm doing exclusively in Disc 1 with Aerith. and I'm like 160 something hours into the playthrough. So feel free to stop by or watch one of the archive videos if you feel like it. And if not, as long as you found this information sort of informative or entertaining or anything like that, that's good enough for me, man. Anyways, cheers. Thanks for watching, and hopefully this was useful or interesting or something like that. Anyways, have a great day.